Good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining us this morning on UKFT's Creative Concepts in UK Textiles for a Post-Pandemic World. I'm Paul Elgar, Director of International Business for the UK Fashion and Textile Association, and it's my very great pleasure to be joined by the great and the good of the UK textile industry, and you'll be hearing from all of them in a moment. Special thanks to the Clothworkers Company and the Campaign for Wool for supporting us on this venture, and also British Textile Week. We hope that you will enjoy British Textile Week and find that it really gives you some interesting information and some inspiration for the future coming out of the UK textile industry. We are working to a fairly tight schedule today, so I will probably keep the introduction at that from me. What I'd like to do, more importantly, is to hear from all of our panelists today. So if I can ask you all to introduce yourselves, please, and just give us one or two sentences about your company and what makes it so special. And then after that, I've got some questions which I'll ask the panel to do their best to answer, and then we'll have a chat about the potential for the future. So if I could ask Ruth, maybe, would you be happy to start us off, please?
Yeah. So hi everybody. I'm Ruth Madison. I work for Harris Tweed Hebrides. So we are a Harris Tweed manufacturer based in the Outer Hebrides of Scotland. We produce hand-woven Harris Tweed fabric. So I'm the marketing manager. It's a all-encompassing role in a small business. So yeah, that's basically what I do.
That's brilliant. Thank you, Ruth. Margot, I'm going for the order of my screen, folks, in case you're wondering.
Hi. Hello, I'm Margot Griem. I'm from MID Textiles. We're a lace manufacturer, lace and McGrath manufacturer in Newmilns, Ayrshire. And we have the largest looms in the world. We have an over 12 metres wide, over 100 years old Nottingham lace loom. So I think that's our claim to fame, and we're about the last manufacturers of the patterned lace also. Okay,
thank you. Thank you. Kerry and Sarah, over to you next.
Hi, I'm Kerry, and I'm heading up the sales at Taylor & Lodge. We manufacture luxury fine worsted fabrics for tailored garments.
Hi, I'm Sarah Monday. I'm the designer here at Taylor & Lodge, and yeah, I work on all the sort of heritage luxury worsted cloths that we weave here at we weave here at Taylor & Lodge.
Thank you. Liz, you're next.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Liz Harper, and I work at County Brook Mill, which is an old heritage mill based on the Yorkshire-Lancashire border, and we're weaving colour wovens in natural fibres, cotton and linen and wool for various markets.
Thank you. Next, Kerry, please.
Hi, good morning. I'm Kerry Yates from Stephen and David Walters. We specialise in jacquard woven fabrics for high-end apparel and furnishing. We're based in Suffolk, and we're 300 years old, well, 301 this year. And I'm the sales director here.
Happy birthday. Belated happy birthday. I know you were going to have a big celebration last year. Yeah. Hopefully next year. Jessica, over to you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jessica Pyle. I am the director here at Hand & Lock. Hand & Lock is a bespoke embroidery company. We are 250 years old, not quite 300, but we mainly do bespoke embroidery for interiors, fashion, and military embroidery as well.
Brilliant, thank you. Judith.
Hello, everyone. I'm Judith Coats. I'm design director at Abraham Moon. We're a vertical woolen mill based just in Guiseley, just outside Leeds. We used to just be apparel, but now we've expanded to having a furnishings division and also an accessories division. So we're very proud of the fact that we can sort of market in all areas. We sell all over the world, a variety of cloths, but all based in with our woolen cloths that are made here. Okay.
Thank you. Marshall, you're next.
Good morning. Thank you for having me, Paul. I'm Marshall Allender, the manager of the Campaign for Wool. The Campaign for Wool was started 12 years ago now by our patron, His Royal Highness the Prince of Wales, to support the global wool industry and textile manufacturers. I'm happy to say that the Prince remains committed to our cause and will continue to support everyone as we can. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, and thank you again very much for your support for this event. John, over to you.
Hi, so I'm John Parkinson from Inuio. It's an acronym. It is never over until it is over. And the reason for that is because we never thought we'd be coming back into the trade that we're in. So we were mechanical textile recyclers in the 70s and 80s and 90s. It's a trade that started in the 1800s. The last one closed in 2000, so we haven't had any, and we're opening again. This month, hopefully, we shall be installing our machinery and offering to repurpose UK manufacturers' wool and luxury fibres back into either fibre, yarns or fabrics again, as well as making our own brands of yarns and fabrics.
Fantastic. Good luck with that one. Simon, you're next.
So Simon Cotton, Chief Exec at Johnsons of Elgin. We're knitters and weavers up in Scotland, also fully vertical. And we supply to luxury brands around the world, but also under our own brand as well.
Brilliant. Thank you, Simon. And last but by no means least, Laurent from Laurent Garrigue. Over to you.
Thank you, Paul. I'm Laurent Garrigue, and I run Garrigue, which is a family-run business, has been since 1947. We supply the haute couture in Paris and their ready-to-wear firms, and indeed designers all around the world. We are London-based, but convert most of our fabric here in the UK. So we're very proud that when we send our collections to our agents all around the world, we're very much flying the British flag as such.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much. Timing, as my mother always used to say, is everything. And of course, at this precise moment, my dogs have decided to bark at the postman. So please forgive the barking in the background. I'd like to start then with a question that could possibly keep us going all morning. But how important now is seasonality to our industry? Please jump in when you've thought about the answer.
Can I jump in? I think we've noticed, in particular, after over the last couple of years, that there are more seasons. We used to just design into spring, particularly for apparel, into spring, summer, and autumn, winter. Now we can't rely on that. We have to have pre-collections, which are probably more important than the main collection in both seasons. So we have to work so much earlier. I think the seasons are shorter now. Our customers are selecting less bulk perhaps in each season and just having more items. So I think that's certainly something that we've had to embrace and we can't ignore. So that's the way we're going at the moment.
And I think we would agree with that as well. So obviously Harris Tweed is very much our winter fabric, and we haven't moved into spring, summer. So we've certainly noticed that the season's a lot earlier than it used to be. People are expecting to see things like a pre-collection. Yeah, it's definitely the way of things.
Yeah.
I think Ruth, you'll be the same as us in that your speciality is like you say, a winter cloth. But you have to adapt, don't you? I think you have to move on. Otherwise, there's big gaps in your production and your sales, really.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
And does that mean then that you're finding that apparel and interior customers are asking for immediates more than they would normally? Is that something you see remaining part of the trend for a year, 18 months, or is that something that we're going to have to live with for the longer term?
I think it's for the longer term. We now have a stock support collection that's larger than it ever used to be, and I think it's essential that we use that as a base. Yes, immediate deliveries are being asked for all the time, and I don't think it's just because of the COVID situation where customers are leaving it to the last minute to make decisions. I think it really is here to stay.
Yeah, we would agree. I mean, I think we sort of have a little bit of an advantage in that people understand Harris Tweed is hand woven, and there's a little bit, we give a wee bit of a lead time advantage over others, but we've certainly found, particularly in the Chinese market, which is quite new for us, that they've got, all of these sales seasons. They've got like almost monthly holidays. So they maybe, since we're not quite so familiar there, they maybe need a little bit more understanding of how we work. So that's definitely a challenge that we're working with right now. Yeah.
And for a lot of companies, they're working on reduced staff numbers, presumably. So being able to respond as quickly as they did even before the pandemic is quite a challenge. Were you finding that is a challenge for you moving forward?
Definitely in our case, yes.
In our case, this the situation that we're in at the moment, which is very much a transitionary one, in September 2021, coming from very low demand to we don't know, to what I suspect will be quite a high demand for luxury products, sort of the premium side. So not price-led, but really the premium end of the textile trade coming out of the UK. I think that there is a possibility that this transition phase will be just temporary. So the era of sort of very fast turnarounds, very small quantities, this is today. Tomorrow, if there is an uptick in consumption where every person in the world says, I'll have the black and the blue and the red, rather than umming and ahhing about, and I'll have nothing, there will be supply issues. Now, as we've seen from China, which produces most of what the world produces, the effect on the shipping problems that they've had has meant that it's not a question of, minimums, delivery, price. It's like, can I get some? And they've been remember these, they've been trading a lot longer than we have here in the Western world, and the UK in particular. They actually hold on to what they have. In some cases, they stockpile, and these are things which we've not had in our lifetime. So this generation has never actually had to say, no, I can't weave this order. We're full. And yet it will happen where Yorkshire, Scotland will actually fill up relatively quickly. And I hope we'll be faced with other problems, and we can have this meeting again in a few months or in a few years, I don't know, hopefully in a few generations, where all of a sudden your looms are completely full and you're faced with a customer saying, you pull. And I do think that at that stage, we need to have a conversation with our customers, because we are all on the same side. Don't forget that everything from the raw material, the farmer, the producer of the raw material, all the way up until the consumer wearing a garment made out of our fabrics, we are all we're all working collectively towards making beautiful things and making people happy. But if that's not possible, we will have to reorganize. And at that stage, we have to lead. We can't just follow market trends and just suddenly realize that we've sold 10% of what we were supposed to the wrong people, just on the basis that they got in first. So, fashion fabrics made in the UK are really a premium product. They're not for everybody. There are way too many billions of people on the planet. We couldn't, even if everybody in this island started weaving, there's no way we could clothe the world. So we need to be quite specific and start looking today at what happens on the uptick. Where will we be 12 months from now? I was always taught to be careful because people close down in good times. We've all kept going through this pandemic, and intend to be here forward, but be very, very careful on the uptick. It could be a tidal wave. So I think a lot of us here at the meeting are getting ready to go to Prometheus. It'll be interesting, that's for sure.
That's great, thank you. I suppose that brings us on quite nicely to my next question, if I may, which is all around the role of sustainability. And when we talk about sustainability at UKFT, we look both at the being kind to planet, but also being kind to people. How important is that for you and your business? And what role do you see sustainability in particular playing in the future? Maybe if I could start off with Simon on that one, because I know, Simon, you're doing a lot of work in the fair trade arena at Johnson's of Elgin.
Yeah, this is something we've really embraced over the last year. I mean, we've always tried to do business in the right way, but over the last year, we've certainly pushed that in front of our agenda. And I think you've gone over this pandemic period, we've gone from sustainability in all its forms, whether it's environment, people, chemicals, carbon, water, whatever, being something which there were a small number of companies leaning into and making a point of difference, to now being something that is the first question you get asked whenever you have a customer meeting. And I'm talking about, some of the biggest fashion houses in the world, and they come to us and they don't really want to talk about product anymore. They want to talk about the sustainability initiatives, understand what's going into their product. So I think this is the number one competitive issue now. It's what gets you the long-term relationships. It's what gets you into the department stores. But there is a huge amount of greenwashing going on at the moment. It is very, very difficult for consumers to cut through it. And I think the challenge for us all is to avoid the temptation to say, okay, everything's perfect because we're doing one thing, but to be honest about it and to push it every single day in every aspect of what we do. And it is a huge, huge challenge. I mean, everything I learned in business school is now being rewritten because this is the way competition is now being done.
And does that effectively mean that this becomes a sensible business decision effectively, because sustainability and free trade will cost you more money as a business? So traditionally the thought would have been cut the costs as much as possible. But I think what I'm hearing from your answer is actually you're going to have to spend quite a lot more money and time on this, but that you will see the business benefits in the medium term.
Yeah, totally. I mean, there's certain things now. There's a lot that we're asked to do anyway. We're required to do, and gradually those requirements go up and up and up from our key customers. But there's also stuff where you have to lean in and invest because that's required for the future. And it's not just altruistic, Paul. I mean, it is now a case of the business needs and the environmental sustainable needs are now aligned for the first time, certainly in that premium sector of the market. I don't think that's necessarily true in the high street. In fact, I think it's definitely not true in the high street. But in the luxury market, it is definitely true that the expectations for consumers are, if they're going to be paying a lot of money for something, they want to know that somebody has really put thought into how it's been made and is doing it in the most responsible way they can.
That's great, thank you.
And also being responsible as individual companies as well. And obviously our product then goes on to the next stage. So, it's how sustainable is the garment maker as well. So there's all these different ideas and sort of companies that you can invest in to make your product as sustainable or look as sustainable as possible. But I suppose we also have to be proud of the fact that most of our products are natural. And also once the yarn hits Yorkshire, if you like, in Taylor and Lodge, the actual carbon footprint is maybe a few miles. So we have to be proud of that fact as well. And I imagine most of the other companies on here as well, it's the same. And the fact that we're 100% wool, it's inherently sustainable, it's ecological, it's an ethical choice for buyers. So I know there's lots of paperwork that goes with the sustainable branding, but we did a lot of research. Akari did research on the yarns and found that there was only a few yarn companies that had a fully sustainable, traceable.
Traceability is very expensive and it's very limited, and it would be a huge investment for us to do a traceable yarn to then stock support fabrics, but definitely we're being asked for a traceable product from a high level, from the luxury level, not from every customer.
Yeah. We found the very, very luxury microns like Super 180s are the ones that can give us traceability, but if you come further down the coarser micron, it's slightly more difficult. But like Simon was saying, you have to have investment if you want it to be your own, it's your own investment, isn't it, at different levels.
Paul, if I could just, oh, sorry, if you're finished.
It's okay, you carry on, it's fine.
Thank you. I was just going to say, from the Campaign for Wool perspective, obviously we're not commercial, so we don't sell anything, but we're often used as a bit of a sounding board by consumers who will approach us, usually asking about wool and wool textiles. And what I'm finding is that consumers are becoming incredibly educated about these matters, and they're asking a lot of tough questions, and they really want to sort of know, where is the fiber coming from? We've had some people literally ask, in the case of merino wool, what is the station that it came from? And as anyone in the textile industry can know, that is very hard to tell. And if you can tell, as you guys just said, Taylor and Lodge, it's incredibly expensive. But I think this is only going to continue. So it's something that we're going to have to think about as an industry, and sort of how do we tackle it together?
And is the reason for that because the consumers are getting younger and they are more informed, they're more digitally connected, or is there something else at play here?
I think it's. Go ahead.
Well, I just think it's a trend, isn't it? I'm not saying it's a trend in that it's short term, but people are becoming more conscientious. If you see it in the food chain, where is our food coming from? Are the animals being cared for correctly? That's filtering down then into other animal welfare, which we're part of that because of the fleeces. So I think it's because it's in the media. I think it's becoming a way of how we want to think and a way we want to proceed as human beings in our relationship with animals. So I don't. Yes, I suppose the consumer could be driving it as well, but I kind of see it in the media and therefore changing our attitudes.
I think it's sort of different customers, if you like. There's definitely, I think we've found that we've got lots and lots of interest going right back to that kind of fibre to the station, like you were saying. We're involved in a traceability. It's just a trial right now, so we're not even sure how much this eventually cost, but it would trace right back to a UK farm, and eventually there will be this, hopefully a lovely, a booklet, or maybe like a QR code that people can scan, since finally QR codes have a use now. So we're finding, I think it is a case of there is a customer for it, but I think there are people who are just really, really interested in the whole story. Like you're saying, PETA are possibly coming after wool, but wool has such a great story. It's renewable, it's natural, it has all of these great qualities, and I think that maybe we just need to be quite proactive and maybe not scared of that conversation, although they might be a little bit intimidating. I think wool is just, it's such a wonderful fibre that we maybe do need to be shouting a little bit more about it.
And that sheep do need shearing, it is it's something that needs to happen.
Absolutely, yeah.
think one of the things that's always impressed me over the years has been how UK designers very much see themselves. They, before consumers in some ways, I would say, found themselves being the tastemakers, and they were passionate and they remain passionate about sustainability and fair trade. And I think they, to a certain degree, have driven, if you look at the London Fashion Week catwalk, for example, most of those collections are sustainable and ethically sourced. And one of the ways in which they've done that is to use UK manufacturing and also UK fabrics wherever they can, because you have the ability to jump in the car and in an hour or two or possibly three, if you're going to Scotland from London, then 4 or 5, then you can go and see where it's made, you can see how it's made, and you can check on the working conditions of the people. And I think that's always been very much, I always refer to them as being the ambassadors, if you like, for the textile industry. So I suppose my next question is, who is it in your daily lives that is working as your ambassadors? Who's taking you as a business to the next level? Is that something you're doing internally, or is that something that you're working with other tastemakers or decision makers on? I've stunned you into silence by that question. I mean, maybe if I come back to Ruth, for example, I know that you work, obviously designers such as Vivienne Westwood, for example, have long been fans of Harris Tweed. So who else is out there?
Oh, who else is out there? We do actually look at, we're looking a lot at the messaging that, our competitors or colleagues in the textiles industry are doing. So we're sort of, at the moment, we're looking at, we always needed to do a bit of development with our mill facility. So in terms of sustainability, that's something that we're going to be integrating into every decision that we're making there. And yeah, there's just lots of really kind of inspiring people around doing great things. We, I think it was Simon who was saying that all of our customers are coming to us and asking us questions about sustainability. It's becoming something that almost everybody has a question for you. So I think we're kind of getting inspiration from everywhere, really. We have a KTP position that just started about 6 months ago. And we've got an associate in place, Beth, who's doing really great research. She's going to be working really closely with Robert Gordon University in Scotland on, maybe things that industry might not have quite reached yet, maybe research that's kind of in progress. We're hoping to access some of that. So I suppose internally at Harris Tweed Hebrides, I would say Beth's a key person that we're hoping to be using for that conversation.
Okay. Anybody else?
Hi.
Go for it.
Oh, hi. I was just going to say that we've sort of jumped on the bandwagon of a lot of movies being made in the UK at the moment. I know everyone's saying about filming in Glasgow happening, and we've a lot of set designers and things like that are now coming to us, and it's to be quick turnover. They need it now in a few days, etc. And also in the US, so that has become quite a big market for us and a newer market for us. But it's actually it's come about because of, I think, a lot of the pandemic that they are actually filming in the UK now. So that's been one positive for us, and we have partners in the US as well, and as well as the UK that do for the film sets and set design. So that have found us and want to use Scottish or British textiles. So So at least that's one positive we've got, and hopefully that business will keep increasing and start growing as well.
And Margot, is that they're coming to you to buy things that you have in the range already, or are they asking you to develop things especially for them?
Both, Paul. Mostly in the range already that they can get quickly, but sometimes it's to develop things as well. So you know, we all know that there has been a lot of filming, and you know, that has become a lot more popular in the UK. So at least there's one thing we found has you know, brought our product to the foreground, especially if it's period dramas or things like that. They want to lace in the windows, or you know, in their interiors. And then we obviously do the large theatre fabrics as well. So now the theatres are opening up and everyone flocking to the theatres. I hope that business should come back now too. But you know, that's one part the thing that's happened for our business that we found somewhere that's actually, you know, looking for UK based. And the other thing is, as you say, if they want it quickly in a few days, you know, it's no problem to get it there if you're based in the UK. So there's at least some ups to the pandemic, and obviously the filming and industry, etc., being growing in the UK.
Anybody else had any business from unexpected or new or exciting places? I can see Kerry's raising her hand. Who else has got some great news?
It's not so much great news. I was just interested in hearing the conversation that's been taking place and how so many of the things are interlinked. So certainly, Judith, you were talking about stocked fabrics, and we're also talking about sustainability. And for us, it's very much linked together. So we think it's really important to be able to not only offer quick service, but also something different. So we try to make sure that you've got people demanding something that is a bit more unique and a bit more special. And Laurent, you're talking about this potential kind of bow wave of this demand for luxury fashion, and we really feel that as well. And so it's like, how do you make sure that you can be ready to be able to take that on board, make sure that you've got something you can offer them that's unique to them and makes them stand out from their competitors. And Simon, everything you're saying about sustainability, it's how does that fit in with it as well, about being careful with your resources. So it's really interesting to hear how all the things that we're talking about for me are so interlinked with each other, about how they all join together so that we can create this beautiful, incredible product that is available. And I really feel this sort of change as we approach this new stage, this new transition phase, to see where will we end up next and how will it change. So yeah, I just thought I'd chip in and give that point of view.
I think from our point of view, we've realised how important it is to have a very strong message about what we do, because sometimes you sit back and think, well, we do all of this, but we're not actually marketing it well enough. So we've recently appointed a brand manager, and it's amazing what a difference it makes, because it's holding together the marketing and design and production for that clear message. And one of those messages is the sustainability. And we've now got a sustainability committee and a sort of 4-year plan on all the measures we want to take. And a lot of them, we were doing them already, but we hadn't put it into words. So it's amazing what we all do already. So it's really a move forward for us. And also, particularly the pandemic has pushed us to become more digital in our presentations, because it's been an absolute must. And we've really fine-tuned these now, and we're really proud of them. We're going to carry on with it. Even when we start traveling again properly, it's just a backup for all of our collections and a fantastic archive as well for us to look at. So yes, there's some good things happening. I
agree completely with you, Judith. And I think what we do is we do a lot of these things, but we forget to tell everybody that we're doing them. So it's just about not trying to do everything, but when we do something, you know, having the pride in what we do and making sure that we speak about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Jessica, I could see you put your hand up at a certain stage.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, obviously for us, we are very much hand making embroidery. And during the pandemic, we found like a real insurgence of like people wanting to learn a new craft. So we really took the initiative to like get online and start engaging with our customers, because a lot of our customers are B2C. So we spent a lot of time teaching online classes, which have been a massive new industry for us to go into, creating this new online platform for people to come and learn skills and really understand the process behind what we're making. So it's been a really interesting sort of like journey through the pandemic and making kits, which have been interesting for us. But yeah, it's a new avenue of business for us. So it's interesting to learn that people want to know how things are made and how they're sustainable. So yeah.
Brilliant, thank you. And John, we've not heard much from you, and you're in the business relaunch phase, so this is probably an unfair question, but looking to the future, what things do you think you'll be doing differently at Inuyo that you might have been planning to do? What has the pandemic taught you to do differently as you start to relaunch this business?
I think to tackle a bit before I answer that question, in so much as all the comments that we have demonstrate how complicated our business is, and being able to sort of get the information across around sustainability and how you're doing things, because there's no perfect way. Everything has an impact on the environment. It's not like you can sort of make great claims, and sometimes you hear people making all sorts of claims, back to the greenwashing thing. And I do think it is about that sort of transparency, and even though people are asking more questions now and insightful questions, there's still a lot of education or informing to be done around the area of sustainability. Just sometimes the language and all that kind of stuff. For us in recycling, when you're talking about pre-consumer and post-consumer and transparency, well, if it's your waste that we're repurposing, if you can trace the fibres, you're getting traceability back. But if you're using post-consumer, you haven't. But how are you going to bury it? It's just so complicated. And so I think there's still a lot of that to be done. In terms of, now coming to your question, Paul, in terms of where we started was just online craft materials, and we soon realised that we couldn't be in the business that we wanted to be without our own machine and control over it, and never thought that we'd be able to enter the name with it's never over until it's over. And so we're in manufacturing, and what we want to offer is the UK wool and luxury fibre manufacturers the chance to repurpose their waste. And either we can go back into Hopper if it's woolen spinning, we can still repurpose worsted waste, and that can be woolen spun, and make it back into either fibre or yarns and fabrics again that can be offered as new collections to their customer, to say, well, we're not burning it, we're not burying it, we're not just selling it to Wasteman and not knowing where it's gone. We've actually got control of this, and we've not just done that, but we've created some beautiful new materials that can be used again. And there's a whole story around that, as well as the story of where it all started, and that we were doing this 30 years ago as Evergreen before our fire. So there's kind of so much for us to be able to serve the UK trade, as well as, do what we love doing and make our own yarns and fabrics, and be involved in that alchemy of taking what seems to be rubbish and making beautiful things again. That sounded a bit like an advertisement, but I suppose it was a bit, really.
There we go. Sorry, I managed to mute myself then. I'm more barking dogs, I'm afraid. Thank you, John, for that. I suppose that then brings us on to the next question of what are we going to be doing next year? Where are you looking to go? Where are you seeing the potential for your business? And what are you going to be doing in the early parts of 2022, presumably, to... We've got a fantastic message about UK textiles and textiles made and designed in the UK. So who are you going to be showing this to? Who you're expecting to be working with, and when does that start? Oh,
Well, I can just start by saying for us in the worsted field, the Middle East is a very important market for us, and trips usually start in January to secure orders, which are then manufactured in sort of May, June, July to be dispatched August, September. So we're dispatching goods at the moment that we've manufactured earlier this year from orders that we took earlier on in the year. So certainly for worsted, luxury worsted industry, Middle East is the start of 2022, and it's a very important market.
And that would presumably be selling to upmarket tailors, for example, and design houses in the Middle East?
Yes, they are shops that sell fabric in cut lengths for dish dash, but it's top end luxury dish dash. It's English worsted. The Middle East needs a made in England product. They want made in England on the selvage. They buy from Italy as well at a different price point. They buy from China, but they sell wool from the end of October through to about mid-January, maybe early February, and then the rest of the time they're selling the whites. So people who are working in government positions would want to wear a worsted made dish dash to go to work, and then they have a social scene as well, and you've got people buying 100% cashmere, super 160s, and then down to a sort of basic wool, 100% wool product. But certainly for a lot of the worsted mills, they've got brands that are recognised. We sell it in under the Edwin Woodhouse brand in the Middle East, and some as Taylor and Lodge, but there are the worsted manufacturers in this area that have brands to sell, and that's a really key market for us.
Great.
We're exhibiting at Premier Vision in a couple of weeks' time. I don't know how many other people are here, but that's obviously for winter 22-23 season. We're also just starting on our spring 23 apparel collection, and shortly after that we'll make a start on winter 23. So we're trying to bring everything forward because we recognise the need for, on the differences in the seasonality now. And the pre-collections, so we just don't want to miss anything now. And we're hoping to start traveling again a little bit more. We'll just see what happens. But for us, China and Korea are becoming important markets for us more recently in the last year or so, and particularly they're interested in the stock support fabrics that we have, immediate deliveries. So it's a very important area for us, the stock support collections.
Just wanted to echo the hopefully we'll get travelling again soon.
Yes,
yes,
at last.
Fingers crossed.
I knew something was missing from my life.
But yeah, Paris this year, and fingers crossed we'll have a few more dates next year.
Yeah. Yes.
Where's everybody else going?
I think certainly for us at the moment, it's a little bit about managing customer expectations going forward. We buy in our yarns, and we're having a lot of disruption at the moment in supply, particularly for linen. I think the bad crops of a couple of years, well, the year before, last year, has really meant that the supply has been severely disrupted. So, there's a lot of managing customer expectations and that balance, as you're saying, Judith, about stock versus making something bespoke. Customers really don't understand how long it takes to make something. And we've got less resource in the UK, less finishing. And so it's interesting. It's interesting time.
Yeah. Do you find that Brexit has caused some problems in the supply? Sort of the paperwork involved in getting like yarn to you. We're finding there's a few delays on yarn, so we have to build that into our lead times. if they're coming from Europe. Yeah, so.
Well, certainly on the linen, it's just that we can't, you're not really given a definitive date. So that's incredibly hard to manage.
Yeah.
You know, we've got disruption in cotton yarns as well. So, and in wool, we can't get wool from Yorkshire. So
really? Oh.
Yes, absolutely. So
goodness.
but you know, it's all part and parcel. But I'm delighted to hear that marketing's coming to the fore. You know, I've been, as a textile marketeer graduate, you know, finally marketing is
so important. Yeah,
so important to what we do, and the brand story and the passion behind what we all do is just never been more important.
I'm glad you used that word passion, because it's a word that we're often afraid to use in the UK. But what comes out of every textile mill and textile design that I've ever met is passion about the business, passion about the product, passion about the future. And I think that's really, it's the thing that struck me most in the UK textile industry. And I think it's there in masses. I suppose the challenge, going back to something I think Judith said earlier on, is if consumers, Kerry said earlier on, if customers are giving you your orders ever later and closer to the season, then that means that you obviously have to become very lean and very, very keen. But it gives you a number of logistical problems which perhaps were not there 5 or 10 years ago. So I suppose we all live in interesting times when we know that commodity prices are going through the roof. We know that transport issues are there. We know that there are the challenges and the opportunities of Brexit. And as somebody that spends a lot of time sitting on government committees, sort of the one bright side of Brexit is the ability to rebuild parts of the UK supply chain. So I suppose for the last 5 minutes, I suppose, just to think back about some of the things that you're doing, talk to me a little bit more, if you will, about what you're doing that's new and different for next year, because I think everyone seems to be doing things differently next year. So what are you doing differently next year and why?
I think we've recognised the need for lighter weight fabrics and also some more luxury fabrics. So we are innovating as much as we can, but we're trying to use the yarn types that we have already as core yarns and use them in a different way. So we're innovating all the time, which does cause problems in production sometimes, because if you've got lots of different loom settings, you know, but I think it's absolutely essential that we carry on with our innovation, because that's the future. And then probably our more core products can be stock supported. It's essential to move forward. And that's what we're doing at the moment, hopefully.
We're doing a similar thing with established warps, you know, trialing out new wefts and using the warps we have in loom and trying to get new products from that, and maybe heavier products. And also just making sure, like Judith was saying, we've built up over the last few years a new sort of stock supported range of the core basics, you know, the real archive cloths that Taylor and Lodge was always known for. We've brought those back to the front, really, and we have a collection that goes from spring cloths right through to heavy coating, so from a worsted point of view. So yeah, that's what we're doing, is channeling our stock support, and also making sure that people know that we can also design from a bespoke point of view as well. So
we've actually been working with a few lecturers, and it's light emitting fabric. So as I mentioned before, our contacts in the theatre industry. So we've been weaving fabrics that then can be lit up with light sources. So hopefully that's going to take off. It's been sort of on hold with the last 18 months, but hopefully we'll manage to bring that more, you know, produce that more of that fabric and you know, get on with marketing that more too.
That's great.
We've actually started working with a company to develop a thread that is dyed while it's going through the embroidery machine to save on wastage of thread. So that's been a really fun process for us to try and develop like a sustainable way of embroidering and not throwing away huge amounts of like excess thread that we use. So hopefully we should have that implanted in our machines November time. But yeah, it's been a process to try and get there.
And from our side, from David Walters, our furnishing division, we'll be launching an outdoor fabric this month. So we've been working very much to do as others have and use our existing looms, but introduce a new yarn. So we have all of our archive to be able to use in this new technology of an outdoor product. So stain resist and water resist, recognising that difference of people being at home, much more demand for that luxury end of outdoor furnishing. So that's we're super excited to be launching that this month.
That sounds really exciting.
It is a time, Paul, where we've seen more change, I would say, in what products people are looking for than ever before. I mean, we've invested in 6 jacquard looms over the last year, and we're seeing a massive shift in that direction. Knitwear technology's moved on massively, and we're investing all the time in the latest Japanese knitting technology. Home's become a much bigger category. There's been a huge shift to comfort and leisure wear. So everything, you know, the speed of change in the industry has been absolutely huge. A lot of those changes have been very helpful to people who work with wool and cashmere because they're naturally very, very comfortable products. But you know, the need to innovate, the need to keep up with a very, very quickly changing market demand is huge.
Thank you. I think we've run out of time, folks. So on that very positive note, thank you, Simon. It remains to me to thank you all for being with us this morning. You've all been very generous with your time and your insights. I haven't asked you what the new colour for the season's going to be, but maybe we can have a ponder about that for next time. But thanks to the cloth workers and to the Campaign for Wool for supporting British Textile Week. Thank you all for contributing. Thank you for watching, and we look forward to seeing you again very, very soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Bye.